Your ancestors faced a world without pills, without hospitals, without a single trained doctor. A cut could kill, a fever could kill. Even a simple toothache could turn deadly within days. So how did anyone survive long enough to have children? Who had children who eventually became you? The answer is stranger than you might expect. Long before medicine existed as we know it, the human body and human mind had already built their own defenses, and some of the primitive solutions our ancestors used turned out to be more clever than anyone gave them credit for. Picture a small group of early humans, maybe 40,000 years ago, moving across a cold plain. One of them, a young hunter, slices his leg open on a sharp rock. There is no antiseptic, no bandage, no antibiotic. In today's world, this wound could be treated in minutes. Back then, it should have been fatal, but it wasn't, because his tribe already knew something we often forget. Nature had been quietly handing out medicine for millions of years, long before anyone called it that. Certain leaves, when chewed into a paste, slowed bleeding. Certain barks, when boiled, eased pain. Ash from a fire, pressed onto a wound, helped stop infection from spreading. None of this came from a textbook. It came from trial, error, and a memory sharp enough to pass survival knowledge from parent to child, generation after generation. But here's the real mystery. How did they know which plants would heal and which would kill? Some of it was guesswork that cost lives. Early humans who ate the wrong berry or chewed the wrong root simply didn't survive to tell anyone. Their deaths became the warning. Over thousands of years, that brutal trial and error process built something remarkable, an oral library of medicine, stored not in books, but in memory, myth, and ritual. Researchers studying isolated tribes in the Amazon and Papua New Guinea today have found something startling. Many of these groups still use plant-based remedies passed down for centuries, and modern lab testing has confirmed that a surprising number of them actually work. Compounds found in willow bark, for example, reduce pain and fever. That same compound is the base ingredient in the aspirin sitting in your medicine cabinet right now. So, in a strange way, some of your medicine already existed before medicine did. But plants alone couldn't stop everything. Disease was the real killer. Without any understanding of bacteria or viruses, ancient humans faced outbreaks they could not explain. Entire camps could fall sick within days. Something invisible was attacking them, and there was no way to see it, no way to name it. So they did the only thing they could. They isolated the sick. Long before the word quarantine existed, early human groups had already discovered its power. If someone grew feverish or covered in sores, they were often moved away from the rest of the group. It wasn't cruelty, it was survival instinct, sharpened by painful experience. Groups that separated their sick lived. Groups that didn't often vanished entirely. This single behavior, keeping the sick apart from the healthy, may have saved more early humans than any herb or remedy ever could. But isolation couldn't fix broken bones, difficult childbirths, or deep infections. For that, ancient humans needed something even more surprising: surgery. Yes, surgery. Skulls discovered from over 7,000 years ago show clear evidence of a procedure called trepanation, where a hole was deliberately cut or scraped into a living person's skull. It sounds terrifying. Yet many of these skulls show smooth, healed bone edges around the opening. That healing is the real shock. It means the patient didn't just survive the operation, they lived for months, sometimes years afterward. Nobody knows exactly why ancient healers performed this surgery. Some researchers believe it was meant to relieve pressure from head injuries. Others think it was used to treat severe headaches or seizures, or even performed as a spiritual ritual to release evil spirits believed to cause illness. Whatever the reason, one fact remains undeniable. Someone, tens of thousands of years ago, understood enough about the human body to cut into a skull and have the patient walk away alive. That single discovery changes how we should think about our ancestors. They weren't just surviving by luck. They were observing, testing, and slowly building real medical knowledge long before anyone wrote a word of it down. Still, knowledge alone wasn't enough. Ancient humans also needed something modern medicine sometimes forgets: community. A sick or injured person in a small tribe couldn't hunt, couldn't gather food, couldn't defend the group. Yet instead of being abandoned, injured individuals were often cared for by the entire tribe. Archaeological evidence shows skeletons with severe injuries or disabilities that healed over long periods of time, meaning someone fed them, protected them, and helped them recover for months, sometimes years. This wasn't just kindness, it was strategy. A tribe that protected its wounded kept valuable knowledge, skill, and experience alive. Survival wasn't only about the strongest individual, it was about the strength of the whole group. So when you put it all together, the plants, the isolation instinct, the surgery, and the community care, a much bigger picture appears. Ancient humans weren't helpless without hospitals. They had built their own medical system, one shaped entirely by observation and necessity, and in many ways that ancient system became the foundation for the medicine you rely on today. The instinct to separate the sick eventually became quarantine protocols. The plant remedies eventually became pharmaceuticals. The willingness to operate on the human body eventually became modern surgery. Every hospital, every medicine cabinet, every doctor's visit you've ever had exists because your ancestors refused to give up. Even without knowing what a virus was, even without understanding pain relief, even without a single modern tool, they survived not because they had medicine, they survived because they became medicine's first inventors.